Hey guys, Charlie Cadaver here again. This time I'm going to show you uh, about head gaskets. Alright. Um, this is why it's very important to always check your coolant level, because if you have a small leak, eventually you will run bone dry from coolant and you will overheat, and guess what? That head gasket will rip. That is what's between the cylinder block and, engine block and the cylinder heads. Okay, now this is the modern funky little thermostat, little switch solenoid, whatever the hell you want to call it, where it coolant hose goes into like a normal thermostat housing, but it's different, and it's got plastic, which is stupid. A lot of manufacturers use plastic housings for your thermostat these days, which is retarded, because what does plastic do over time? After heat cycle it will warp. It will get hot and warp, especially if you blew a head gasket. But this got hot, didn't notice the slight drip, and it collected right down in there. Okay. And they blew the head gasket. Typically, sometimes they rip on the outer side of the cylinder block. So here I go again, cylinder head and engine block meet. But they do rip on the inside, so internal. Now, typically what causes it to overheat from a blown head gasket is that's with the internal rips. Okay, every time that cylinder fires on where the rip is, it heats up that coolant even more. So as it's flowing through the system, instead of like a radiator cooling as it goes through the system, or it goes through the radiator, it cools down. When it goes in the engine, it's heating up even more than normal. That fire that on the bang stroke is just boiling that water, and that's why your engine overheats when you have an internal rip in the head gasket. I've had head gaskets where they leak on the outside, and let's see, I had a 2001 Silverado 1500 with the 5.3. It had a rip on the corner, outside corner, and that thing still did burnouts and everything before swapping the motor out. But internally, it will mess everything up. So, internal, that normally means you will have oil and water mixture. So when you drain the oil, it will look milky. And I'm going to show you it, because as I started draining the oil, it came out milky, and I figured, well, let me just make a little video. I'm going to go get my flashlight. I had it up here somewhere. Or maybe not. I know I got one over here. From my previous video, those Brembos work great on my WS6 Trans Am. I love it. So, here we go. Now you can already see it dripping out. Yeah, it looks like coffee, right? Looks like coffee. Yum yum. Let me see if I get the flash going. Well, there we go. I got the flash and the flashlight. Ho ho. Business now. So there you go. Now I'm gonna just go ahead and let it go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You like that? So yummy. All that coffee coming out of there, and it is slimy. More slick than just regular oil. And you can't really see it on the phone, but yeah, looks good enough. Coffee. I mean, it doesn't even look like fresh clean oil, but it's got that color. But you can kind of see the blends maybe coming out where it's water and oil next to each other. You see the streaks. I don't know. I can see it. There you go. There it is. It's coming. And that's because water and oil do not mix. Alright, well, there you have it. That's how, when you know you got a head gasket with a internal rip. And it can happen to any vehicle if you do not make sure you fix coolant leaks quick enough. At least top it off if you got a leak until you can get the leak fixed. And do not use just regular water, because eventually over a period of time, using water, straight water, you will rust out your freeze plugs on the engine block, and some of them are not very easy to get to, and it will be a very intense labor job, especially like a typical small block Chevy or a small block V8 where there's freeze plugs on the back side of the engine block where the torque converter and flex plate bolt to. I think see if I can sneak in here. You see, you got some on the back of the cylinder head. I mean, this is not a traditional small block Chevy, so typically it'll be right there. You got your cylinder head, and then the block would be right under, or this part where the block would have a freeze plug would be right there, typically on your Gen 1 and 2 small block Chevy V8. So that means, yeah, tranny comes out, the whole 9 yards, and replace them, which they're pretty easy just to sit there. Take even a flathead screwdriver on the edge here, let's see, on the outer edge, and kind of just give it a knock. Sometimes you gotta throw some PB blaster or something to eat away at some of the corrosion rust from all the years that it's been on there, and the heat cycles and baking on, all that good fun stuff. Yeah, so we're a chisel right on the edge of the actual. Here, let me get my pick so you can really see. It's a little dirty there. This is a 6-liter I pulled from the junkyard not too long ago, which I'm going to put in my 04 Tahoe. It's a couple goodies. So here we go. So here's a freeze plug. Starts right here where this lip is, and then it's this whole circle. And they just pop in, well, press in kind of when you tap it in with a hammer. But you just get a chisel, flathead screwdriver you can smack or something, and just, you know, throw some PB blaster all around and just tap it right here in the lip. Not the cylinder head, wall, face, whatever. Right here on that lip of the actual plug, freeze plug. Alright, so that's another way to, that's how you fix that. So then if your water pump looks like this, there's gonna leak like shit. See? Oh no, that's just on there just to get out of my way, because you can see my garage is kind of filled. My toolbox is actually at my brother's house because I have no flipping room for it here. However, I'd like to make room. I mean, I got Brembos everywhere, big 2-piston fixed caliber, or I'm sorry, floating calipers, and then Brembos, which are just the little 4-piston ones from Mercedes, Volkswagen, Porsche, LS coils galore, car parts galore in general, tires, you know, slicks for This thing here is another Fortune F body. That thing who doesn't make a shit ton of power, but she has just the right package for the street, honestly, that you just get enough traction out of. Anyway, so yeah, always make sure to check your coolant level, just like you want to always check your oil level, especially on any engines that have a little bit high mileage. You never know when you might be burning up oil, have an oil leak, and you're not a car person, but you know enough to check the fluid levels or have someone do it for you, because you can still seize the engine by running it dry of oil. So those are two detrimental ways to make an engine go goodbye. And Ecotecs are pretty good motors. I've had several customers get in the high 2000s, a few even into the low 300,000s. Just like the LSX truck engines. Even some actual LS1 vehicles. So it's just comes down to maintenance. And if there's a repair needed for a leak, do it. Do not put it on the back burner. Do not put it on hold. And really, honestly, do not put any of those stop leaks in, okay? That is only, if, in my opinion, if you're stranded somewhere in the middle of the desert, whatever, and your radiator O-ring for the thermostat, something busts a leak. It's the only time I would actually, for my personal stuff, use any kind of those radiator stop leaks, because if they're stopping that, guess what? Even with Blue Devil, they work great. But remember, you still got to flush Blue Devil out when you're done, because it will clog up your heater core. Also, if those things stop a leak for a O-ring gasket type on a thermostat housing or so, what else will it stop flow going through? Your water jackets are small holes that run through your engine block and cylinder heads. So typically it shouldn't, because of the flow of the water pump, but guess what? If you have a weak water pump and you don't know it, which if you do know, you should be letting the vehicle idle in a little bit higher RPM than just sitting at normal idle RPMs, to keep the flow going throughout their block, so that between the block and the heads, those water jackets do not get clogged up by any kind of coolant stop leak. Okay, stop leak is not a permanent fix. Do not think that way. When you get your out of the desert or wherever you might be stranded, get the repair fixed wherever it was leaking from before the stop leak fixed it. Get that fixed, and then flush your motor and put clean coolant in. Do not leave stop leak in your engine at all for a long period of time. I do not suggest that, because like I said, if it clogs up a leak, what else is it clogging up? And yes, I've had times where I use Blue Devil and it clogged up in the heater core, and I sat there in park, 3,500, $4,000 up and down that little area of the RPMs, and it took a good few minutes for the RPMs, for the water pump and the higher RPMs to push coolant and break apart whatever Blue Devil did settle down in the heater core. So it was not flowing. It might have been a very small passage going through the heater core, which I had to open up, high RPMs. And again, you don't really want to do that when you're sitting at idle. That's not good, because you're not getting fresh wind or air coming into the car like you should be going down the road. Yeah, all right. That's just extra wear and tear you're cooking on those rings. All right. So, any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. And hope somebody learned something about head gaskets. I gave enough information. Bye-bye.